Really obvious. You are live, it says. Good morning.
Good morning. This is exciting.
Hey, I hear you got some cold weather moving in there. Is that right?
We do. Yesterday was in the 90s, and this morning I woke up. I was glad I had all my windows open, but it was 60 degrees outside, and the wind is just a nice cool breeze, but still enough that you need a blanket.
Oh, gosh. Well, especially that's the cool air coming in from a window. I just think is the greatest way to sleep. So that's pretty nice. So, and we have, they still have those fires going over in California.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe it. It's been so long. And our air is so heavy. You can smell the smoke and it's in the air. It almost, the sun yesterday was coming just through the haze. It was really a kind of weird looking thing. And then we did drop about 30 degrees overnight. So I don't know what's going on, but there is a movement going around.
There is. Colorado and Western Kansas are going to see snow, and it just amazes me. Yesterday was Labor Day, and we are looking at snow today. So
I know. And another kind of interesting thing is that with Labor Day, usually Labor Day's right at the first of the month, the first or second or third. It usually seems like that. But this month, this year, it's like this. We're already in the second week. That's why we're having our luncheon, our lunch spot later, because I don't know that I ever remember. I'm sure it probably has fallen that close to the day after Labor Day. It's like this is the second Tuesday, kind of crazy. So I don't know. Keeps us on our toes.
It does. And this year has not gone anything as planned. So I'm just rolling with it. I don't stress it. It just is what it is.
It is. I know. And, I think the sooner we can come to that realization that just kind of go with the flow, because, if you try to push against it, you're just going to be totally frustrated. And it's not going to make any difference anyway.
Exactly.
And all it does is make you feel worse, right? It's like,
that's right.
Kind of crazy. So is anybody out there with us? Now, I don't know, Jennifer, if you're able to do any side looking at anything. I can't. But
I can't. I didn't set myself up for that this morning. So
that's okay. We didn't talk about it. So if you're out there, just so we know that we're not talking just to ourselves, although we love talking to each other, we'd much rather know that we're talking to you. So Karen or Kathy or Jessica, any of those of you who are with us on a regular basis, say a quick hello, because also I'll let you know we're using a new platform today, and I'm rather excited about it, because if it's doing what it's supposed to, if you're watching on our Fun Fearless page or my personal page or my YouTube, we should be talking to everybody at the same time. So it's kind of cool. I'm, like I said, excited about that. I just found out about it yesterday and thought, well, hey, let's try it out. So
let's go for it. We jump in without testing it, and let's see if it works.
Well, here's the test.
Exactly.
And that kind of goes with what we were just saying, that in this day that we're having, this point in time. Let's see. Facebook user. Okay. All it says is Facebook user. Good morning, ladies. So maybe you could tell us. So we don't know. I didn't know what it was going to say over in the chat box. So who are you that just said good morning? So you might have to say, good morning, ladies. This is Kathy, or this is Jessica, or this is Susie, or whatever, because we don't see who it is. Now that's kind of a little bit of a disadvantage, but
yeah, there might be a setting for that. We'll play around with it.
There might be. Matter of fact, I may be getting you. Oh, Terry Beatty says good morning. Okay.
Good morning, Terry.
Thanks, Terry. So Jennifer, we've been talking about powerful words, how our words have power. And last week we talked about yes and no, and how every time you say no, you're often saying yes to yourself, which is great, because most of the time women in particular don't say yes to themselves. And the power of saying yes to the opportunities that serve you, that help you, and saying no to the ones that just drain your energy and your time. So those were two of my top four. So today we're talking about the third one. Now, that's not in any order, just the way we decided to talk about it. But today's word is love. And I love you. And
I love you too.
I love our listeners, and I love sharing this time. And gosh, I'd love to have lunch with you. And so what do you think about that, Jennifer? Jennifer actually came up with this idea. So she's going to do most of the sharing this morning, because it's such a great concept, and I'd never kind of really thought about it. So Jennifer, what about this word love?
Well, love is an amazing word. It's 4 letters in the English language. In the dictionary, there's 23 distinct definitions for it.
Whoa, wow.
And when we look at that, that's interesting to me. That's a lot of weight to put on 4 little letters. And it means so many different things. We have parental love, we have romantic love, we have brotherly love, we have the love of pizza, the love of those kind of things. And all of those are appropriate uses of the word. But it's interesting to me when I was preparing for this, we have one word that we use for all of it. It's just all encompassing. The Greek have 3 words that they use to try to define. And even within those 3 words, they have actual multiple definitions also. But theirs is eros, philia, and agape. And each of those is a different type of love. Eros is more of a romantic love, what we would think of when we watch our love stories and our movies in that way. The philia is more of a parental type of a love. And agape is interesting because it's a love of something that has flaws. And that gets really complicated, and it could be a whole hour-long conversation on that type of love. But that's where we have that compassion, that love of the tragic character when we watch a movie or something. It's not a romantic love, and it's sometimes it's just a respect and a compassion because they've gone through a trial and tribulation. So it's interesting to me that that again, in the English language we have one word. The Greeks at least broke it out into 3. But the one that I really loved, and it's just such a beautiful word. And I think as Christians, I think going back into that root language of Hebrew is beautiful. The Hebrew word for love is ahava.
Ooh.
And it is such a beautiful word. If you go back and you were to be in a Jewish church where they do the readings in Hebrew, you will hear that word every time we hear love. They hear this lovely word of ahava. And it's interesting to me because in Hebrew, they have distinct words for romantic love and more that parental love and different things. But ahava is kind of their version of our love.
I love it. I don't think I've heard that before. I knew the Greek, but I don't know that I'd heard the Hebrew.
Yeah, it is just such a beautiful word. And I heard some this morning, actually listened to some gentlemen speaking in Hebrew, and it's kind of like listening to Italian or something. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful language. But in Jeremiah in the Bible, we're told, I've loved you with an everlasting love, talking about God's love. It has no end. It has no beginning. It just always was. And that to me is interesting when we think about that, because the love that God has for us, we didn't earn it. It just exists. Yeah, the closest we come is a parent's love for a child, a grandparent's love for a child. The moment you find out you're pregnant, the mothers, they're in love. That child has done absolutely nothing but exist. But that's a purest form of love. And I think that that's interesting when we look at it. The children don't earn it. They do eventually, and I think that's always why it's so hard the first time that they'd say they don't love us. It's like, wait a minute, I've loved you before you knew you even existed. Right. That's the closest we get to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the only thing that can give us some idea of God's love, because there's nothing that we wouldn't do for that child. And like say, you would give your all, you would give your life, we'd even do the tough love thing, because whatever is best for that child. And that's the kind of love that God has for us, which is even greater than that, which is can't even imagine, right?
Exactly. And that's why the word love is just so powerful. And that's why I have a problem with us overusing it occasionally, because I think we diminish the meaning of it. Going into thinking about it, from the perspective of business. So we're going to switch into this where I think it's overused. Okay. Love has become a lazy compliment. It's become a lazy way of saying something. I'd love to have lunch with you. I'd love to chat and tell you about my business. I would love. What that does is that makes it about me. It has nothing to do with you. Love is giving. Love is a gift that we're supposed to give, not receive. If you happen to receive, that's amazing, but it should be giving. So when I say, I would love to have lunch with you, okay, that's nice, but that doesn't actually say anything about you, except for that I'm bringing you into my world. It's the same thing as I love pizza. Okay, I adore pizza. I do, and I will eat it, but I love it because of what it does for me, how it makes me feel. And so when we use that word love, it's not a gift in business. So instead, what I challenge you to do is change that word and make it about them. So switch to the word to you. Would you be open to having lunch with me so we could talk about the business? Would you be free this week? Would you, or what do you think about this? By making it you, by switching that around, that little bit gets the exact same point across, but I think much more effectively. And I think it makes us come across more professional.
That is awesome, Jennifer. That's a great perspective to look at. And truthfully, I don't know that I've really thought about that when you're saying, oh, I'd love to, like you said, I'd love to get together. It does come across about what I want and what I would appreciate or whatever. But even we could, even if we wanted to just change the word from there. Like I would just appreciate your time. Again, even saying that, you're talking about their time, which is better. So that's really cool. Let me read you a couple of things on here because I don't know if you can see those. Can you see them?
I can't see them. No, I can't see them on my platform.
Okay, so somebody said, you guys, we cannot see who you are. It just says Facebook user on this platform that we're trying. But somebody said, we need the same. I don't know what that means. Love has many different definitions, which you said. And then somebody said, we need the same. I love that, LOL. I've always said love is easy to say and has been watered down, which is exactly what you're saying. Oh, Terry. That might have been Terry saying that. And then this feeling of love is so impactful. It's overused. Somebody said, that's fantastic, Jennifer. So there you go.
There we go.
I'm a commentator today. I'm reading. So it is. And I think, so what are some other places do you think that we use love? Now, you used it in one of your sentences there. It's like, yeah, I love pizza. It's like, we use love all the time. And then how is it supposedly? It's mostly Terry. Thank you, Terry. I love your comments. So keep it, girl. That when we're saying that all the time, I remember when my kids were little, they'd get on the phone and say, and Alicia more in particular, because being a girl, boys don't talk that way quite as much. Okay, I love you, and like that. And I remember talking to her and saying, Alicia, when you're just saying I love you to every friend you talk to on the phone, then what are you going to say when there's really somebody really special? What word are you going to use? Because now you've worn that word out. Say, bye, Bessie, or find some other thing. Because I just remember when I would hear her, I'd say, gosh. Do we even then, do we overuse that? And so then when we want to say how much we really care for somebody, what words are we going to use?
Right. And I think each one's different. Our friendship, our relationship just between you and I is different than another girlfriend that I have that lives next door, that lives, that I went to high school with. Each one's a different level. And I do think that that's it. We overuse the word. That a lot of times when we're saying it, the person doesn't even receive it. We may have an intense meaning behind it, but because it's so overused, it comes across almost as fake. It's not genuine. I know when I look at my husband, and even though I tell him every night, I love you, and the intent is truly there in my heart. But as I was preparing this, it got me reflecting on that a little bit more of, okay, even in those cases when it's genuine and it is used appropriately, I maybe need to find some different phrases or find some other ways. Again, when we get into the book, the love language, and you talk about ways of showing it and how do they receive it. I think that's important as we go forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and how you love Victoria, how I love my kids is different than how I love Bill and how you love Everett. I think you remember for a while people used love, I love you, LUV. It's kind of like that because it made it feel like it was a more friendship love. You know what I'm saying? And so that made me feel better than the LOVE word, which I did try. Now I think I say it all. I say the love word too much. I am right there with you. I think it's overused and watered down. But I remember, I wouldn't. Every guy I dated, I didn't love, and I didn't say the words because I didn't mean the words, But we do use it in casual conversation. So it's almost like I phileo you, or and I guess somehow in the Greek that's what they would do.
Right.
I think Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, is came from that word, the word in Greek of that. So if we were writing the word, I'd say most of the time the word I would be writing would be LUV. Oh, I love that, or some other thing. So let's brainstorm a little and see what are some other ways we could say these casual things that we use the word love for. But one more, we have a little. Says Delinda, I had the same conversation with my kids. So funny, isn't it interesting that our kids' generation has changed the impact? And that's from Terry. Yeah, because they just, they're best friends. They love them, or even just talking to somebody on the phone. It was just, oh yeah, love you, bye. Love you, bye.
Exactly. And again, it's not that it's even an incorrect, it's just an overuse. I mean, there is that definition. Brotherly love is appropriate.
Right.
I truly do love my friends, not in the same way that I love my mother and my husband and my daughter, but there is a love but again, I think we can, when I think about I love pizza, again, still appropriate, but I would say, I really enjoy pizza. Pizza makes me happy. That's really what it is. Because again, you think about it, we consume it. Like I said, when I think about the love of food, somebody described that, I love fish. Really, you loved it enough. You caught it, you cooked it, and you ate it. That's how much you loved it. But it's because it's that's where the different sides of love are. There's the giving side, but there's also the more possessive side of love. And again, appropriate, but I just think we need to take that, especially out of business and maybe out of some of our friendship conversations. So when we can switch it around and use a few more words, maybe, where sometimes we get a little too wordy. This is one where I encourage you to say, I enjoy this, as opposed to I love this. I think it's important.
And maybe using, some other words like appreciate or enjoy is one that you use. Because we have a plethora of thousands of words that we could use, right? So finding what are other ways we can say it. And when you were talking about, you say, you tell Everett every night, I love you. Then same with me, tell Bill every day. But maybe as you were talking about that, maybe it's, except my mouth wants to say love. Because I love the fact that you're always thinking about me. But it's, like when saying to him, because he's very not selfish. He's a real giver. And sometimes it goes. But in that sentence, even trying to say it different, I said the word love. It is so great how you think about me all the time.
Exactly. And that's the switch I would make is thank you for always thinking about me, putting our family first. Thank you for the kind gesture you did today. Just giving us a compliment and just showing that appreciation is a wonderful way of saying I love you, especially for those who need to hear it. I think that's a great way to switch it around.
Yes. Oh, Carrie, this is a great. She said, I adore you. I love it.
Adore. You're gonna notice it now. It's one of those things. The minute in speaking class, when you're told not to use and like, you notice how much you use those words.
Right.
It's the same thing.
I'm thinking I'm using that word, that love word, a lot in my conversations. Yes. And that's something really great for y'all to think about this week is to catch yourself. And when you do, try to turn it and say it a different way. Yep. But that is a great one, Terry. I adore you. And that's a beautiful word.
And that is, it's a word we don't use a lot. Adore. That is a lovely word. And again, it's just fun to go back through and look. Again, we go to the thesaurus and we can see a bunch of different words we can use. It's what we should be doing. It has the same meaning, but you save the word love for when it's really important. When we go into Corinthians 13:4, if you've been to a wedding, which I know a lot of us haven't been through the shutdowns and such, right. But we know the phrase, love is patient and love is kind. that's usually where we end it. What I think we need to do is hear the rest of that verse. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor. It is not self-seeking, easily angered, and keeps no record of wrongs.
And that's amazing. I do love that. That whole book, 1 Corinthians 13, is beautiful.
It is.
That is, because that really sort of puts it out there for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is real love.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's a very high standard. Very high standard.
Yes. And I think that's where, to me, it comes into of when we use it in business, we're envious, we're boastful. Especially, I'd love to tell you about my business. That's boasting. That it really is. Instead of saying, you know, do you have time to talk? I have a business opportunity I want to share with you. You know, that is at least better than the flip side of it. And I think that's so important.
Yeah, that whole giving, receiving, that's an awesome concept. I'm going to be thinking about that this week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and because if we're really looking at it, because that should be the point of why we're wanting to have coffee. Yes, you want to tell them about your business, but you really want to hear about them. And that kind of forces us to look at, ways that we can show them the appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you know, I so appreciate you taking the time, you know, to get together, or,
Mm-hmm.
you know, as you said, you know, would you have time, or would you be willing to whatever?
Mm-hmm.
And anytime, I think, when you tell someone, I so appreciate you, that means a lot to that person that you're
Mm-hmm.
saying, you know,
right.
so much better saying, I'd love to have coffee with you, as opposed, you know, so nicer to really turn that around, say,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I appreciate you so much, or I really enjoyed what you had to say today. Would you be available for coffee?
Mm-hmm.
That's really, that's a great way of doing that. I'm glad you pointed that out.
Well, so, and I think it's more professional. I think it sounds less, it doesn't sound fake. That is one of the things, right. Because you do wonder, especially when you overhear in a gathering, whenever we're able to all get together again, you hear that, yeah. I'd love to have coffee with you. I'd love to have coffee with you. I'd love to have coffee with you. Okay, wait a minute. Now you've muddled that up, where again, if you called me, Delinda, and said, Jennifer, I'm in town next week, I would love to meet up with you. I know that that's genuine and it's for me. But when we're in a group, it does get muddy. And I think that that's one of those things. And when we get into that giving and receiving, again, as I was reflecting on this, go back to when you were a child and you fell off your bike, or you fell on your roller skates or whatever, and your mom comes running over and she gives you a kiss on your knee because you got a little skinned up knee. Okay, the saliva did nothing. It absolutely does not cure anything. But that pure love that you got in that moment that she gave to you was all you needed to heal. And I think that's what we need to remember. When we use the word love, it's a gift. And I think it's just so precious to me. That
really is. And love is always a gift. And again, we got the example of Christ, who gave his life for us. Mm-hmm. You know, for God so loved the world that he gave. Mm-hmm. You know, so that's the example for us, is that really think about when we're using that word, since our vocabulary is limited and we only have one actual word for love, to really save it and use it for those people or those times when it's really, truly appropriate, and use one of the millions of other words that are out there. But I love thinking about that way. I love. Okay, I'm going to catch myself all the time. It's there. And that's the thing, is where it really has gotten just so muddied, and we just don't appreciate the word anymore. And that's what, when we talked about this, that's why I wanted to share this, because I loved the thought of this concept. There I go, using it myself. But it really caused me to pause and think. This was a 1-minute video that came across on my thing. And this lady, I don't even know who she is. I have reflected on this for 2 months now. I have truly put a lot of thought into what that word means and how important it is. You know, and like you said, God loved us so much, he gave us his son, you know, and then we go to John 15:12, love each other as I have loved you. It's again, those gifts that I loved you so much. Jesus forgave everyone who put him to death as he's dying on the cross. That is such an intense love that I want that word to reflect those
values in my life, as opposed to just throwing it out for my slice of pizza or my piece of pie.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. Boy, that is some great, a little heavier thought than we usually do. And I really appreciate it. I wonder if we did a little, tab every time, a little scratch every time we said that, we'd probably be in shock how many times a day we do. Let's see here. Terry said, I think we've gotten lazy with our vocabulary. Start using the SARS. Yeah. And then she says, haha, both previous comments are from Terry. Yeah. Terry, you're being so active with us this morning. I love it. I love it. So, and Terry, we need to have you back on sometime. This new thing that I'm on, I can actually have 10 people at a time. That might be a lot, but 4 would be fun. You know, 4 would be fun. So great. All right. So I am going to really pay attention to how many times I say the word love, and when I said it, did I really love with the full impact of the word? Did I really mean that? Or was I using it as a matter of convenience? Or, is there some other way I could have said that? So I'm going to really focus on that this week. So I challenge the rest of y'all to do that as well. So I know a lot of you will be watching this later in the day. So as you do, really think about that. And you can put comments in, because I always go back later and read continuing comments that come in. So I'd love to hear from you. Any last comment before we go, Miss Jen?
Well, and I think just to piggyback on what you were just saying about, paying attention, utilize the shutdowns and all the craziness we have going on as that opportunity to rehearse and practice and pay attention. So as you're talking with your family and you're on the phone or you're typing that email, anything, when that word starts to creep up, you have a moment to edit, to self edit your, that phrase. And so utilize it. Right now, we're not in gigantic groups. We're not meeting 24 hours a day like we were 6 months ago. So let's find the positive in the craziness and just take this as a time to make ourselves better and see what else we could do.
Absolutely. And we are meeting again on Zoom. If y'all look at all 3 of the pages, the Fun Fearless page, my personal page, and my speaker page, because I don't think I can type. I don't think I can get. I should have copied it and I could have put it in here. But anyway, at 9:30 Vegas time, 11:30 Kansas City time, and depending on where you are, we're coming back together. We always meet on the second Tuesday of every month, which is today. And so we're having our lunch together. Well, everybody bring your own cup of tea or whatever. And so, Jennifer, I think I want you to do a little mini commercial. Take about, 10 minutes of what you just talked about today in our luncheon. I mean, obviously you already know. So at the luncheon.
Sure. I thought you wanted me to do a commercial right now. I was going to say, well, I'll come up with something.
No.
Okay.
Share with us an overview of what you just talked about, because you made some great points there. And I think I don't want anybody to miss it. So those that are joining us for lunch, some of these gals, I'm sure Terry will be on, but I know she has a lot of business conflicts and she has a lot of Zooms going on in her own business. But for whoever's there, I think it's really something to think about. And it won't be long till we start going into the holidays. And I want to really use that word better. And I think in the meantime, I'm going to go to the thesaurus and see what other words they put out there. As a, in addition to the I adore you. I love that.
Oh, goodness.
That is so great. That is a great word. I adore you.
It is. And when it comes to the Zoom today, please, if you're at home, if you want to put on the makeup and get all dressed up, go for it, because it makes you feel better. But if you do have some kids running around in the background or something too, we all understand. This is what it is. That's the comfort and the joy of getting to do it by Zoom. So don't let any reason keep you from being there, please. We would love just to chat. I'm excited to get to see some different people.
Yeah, and we can hear your comments. So just like Jennifer and I can see and hear, right? What we want is to hear from the rest of you. So like Terry, if you're on, we know we'll have great conversation, and somebody else So it's so interactive. That's what's really, really fun about doing the Zoom things, is that we can interact with each other. So anyway, we invite you to join us. As soon as we hang up, I'll go copy the link and I'll put it back on here so you guys can.
And send an invite to someone you haven't seen in the last 6 months. This
Yeah,
is a great opportunity for you two to reconnect.
Yeah, because it's fun to see face to face, and we can give, virtual hugs. So,
Right.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. I so appreciate you. You know I do. Remember that life is not a matter of chance. It's a matter of choice. So choose wisely, choose your words wisely, and use love only when it's about giving and not receiving. That's the biggest thought that came to me of all you said today, Jennifer.
Great.
So. All right, everybody. Bye. Have a wonderful day, and we will see you soon. Bye. Okay, now I got to see, how do I close this out? There we go. End broadcast.